13th in the Championship. The takeover happened, as I said it would. People will be, when have we got Leeds? Can't help but laugh, they've all. Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show and another episode of The Final Words. Really great to have the full gang, the OGs, I believe, on the show tonight. So this is great. We're here to talk about Leeds versus Rotherham. 2 points dropped, although today it was a point gained on Ipswich, as Ipswich were just beaten by West Brom. But we'll try and take that out of our mind for a second and just focus on the game, because I am quite... I was okay last night, but now I'm more positive because it's still a point gained, and I'm trying to get rid of that because I have to just focus on what was last night. As you can see, we've got a great panel tonight. We've got Andrea, we've got Luke, we've got Max, we've got Joe, and of course we've got the lovely Kate. Who wants to kick us off? Because I haven't really got an agenda. I haven't really got, although I am normally full of them, but I haven't got an agenda for tonight. There's a few points I want to discuss, but just someone... Who wants the floor? Joe, you like the floor. You take the floor and tell me what your thoughts were on Rotherham.
Joe likes the floor.
I didn't mean it as a negative. I'm just saying you will kick us off.
I'm a little worried about a trait that is seeping in, which is taking our foot off the gas too soon. And we've been taking our foot off the gas sooner and sooner and sooner in games. You've heard me moan about the second half of QPR, but then you look at the first half of Norwich. My broadband's sticking again. Sorry, my Wi-Fi's crap. But then you look at 4-0 up against Huddersfield, take a foot off the gas in the second half, concede a goal. 2-0 up against Plymouth, take the foot off the gas, concede a goal. 1-0 up against Rotherham, take our foot off the gas almost immediately and concede a goal. And my issue with that is it is so hard to get yourself going again when you've dropped off that much, and we don't look, and I keep saying it, we do not look a good team when it's slow. We do not look like we know what we need to do around the edge of the box when it's too slow. It has to be high tempo. It has to be fast. It's got to be moving quickly for me. I don't know why this is a trait that's in this team. I don't know. We was having Max talking this earlier on. I don't know if it's arrogance, complacency, or cockiness, but we look like we're trying to tippy-tappy the ball around the edge of the box. We'll score a load of goals here. We'll take these apart. Doesn't matter if I miss this one, I can get the next one. And then the next one doesn't come. And I mean, how many chances are we going to keep wasting in front of goal before we actually start being clinical and finishing teams off? Because if we want to go up in the top two, we've got to start getting clinical, and we've got to stop conceding goals to teams that are in the bottom four in the division, because that's happened against Sheffield Wednesday. It's happened against Sheffield Wednesday. Who scored against us?
No.
Goalless scored against us. QPR scored against us. Do you know what I mean? It's just the pragmatism of Daniel Farke works really well when we have a clean sheet. I question why his pragmatic style is in place when we don't keep clean sheets, because we haven't kept that many clean sheets. We had a nice little run. We had a couple of clean sheets on the bounce, and now we're back to conceding stupid goals against teams, putting ourselves under unnecessary pressure in games that we should be out of sight by half time. We create enough chances. Joe Perrone, the number 10, I don't care how many goals he scores in there. Joe Perrone, the number 10, is not working for me. I don't think as a team, I think as an entire group, not a criticism of Joe Perrone, not a criticism of Rutter, not a criticism of anybody in particular, but we're missing something creative in that number 10 position. Fracker brings Pavade on in the second half. I can see why he's bringing it on, but it doesn't work because, again, he's not at the level that we're looking for to break teams down. He's decent lower half championship, but he's not going to break down big teams. He's not going to break down low blocks. He's not going to give us that creative spark. But you could see Farke was thinking, we need something else in that position to try and open this up a little bit. Leeds need a number 10. They need a number 10. And also the other thing I've got to be in my bonnet is I don't want us to rely on the old guard anymore. I'm not holding anyone responsible for the goal, because there was so many people at fault for the goal that we conceded. So many, from Firpo to Somerville to Rodon to Archie to Cooper to Melier. Every single one of them can look at themselves and think they should have done better. So it's a multitude of reasons for that. But I want us to look to the future in certain positions. I don't want to see Pat Bamford coming on anymore. I just don't see the point in it. I just don't see what we get from him anymore. I don't see why he's there. You've got a young, exciting talent in Mateo Joseph, who's banging goals in midweek for the England 20 side, who's scoring regularly from 21s, whose confidence is high, who's, is a goal-scoring player. You've got Willie Nanto, plays in the number 9 twice for Italy during the week, scores 4 goals as a number 9. And then the first option we bring off the bench playing the number 9 is Pat Bamford, who doesn't look like he fits the system anymore, doesn't look like he wants to work hard anymore, and stands around the end line like he's playing 2 years ago, expecting balls to go over the top for him to run in behind when there's no space to run in behind. So I think Daniel Farke has got to look at his tactics yesterday. I don't think he got it right. I think I don't know whether it's him or the players that are dropping off, but it's happening far too often. There's been too many games this season where it's happened, and they're not knocking it on the head. If anything, it's happening earlier in games than it had been. So I'd like to see us go out and actually finish off a team. Someone said to me yesterday on Twitter, they can't run around 100% of the time. And I'm like, I completely agree with that. But I'd like to see them do it for 50% of the time. You know, we did it against Huddersfield for 45 minutes, and then we didn't do it in the second half and we conceded. Give me 60, 70 minutes of us smashing the team, then take your foot off the gas, by all means. But this 20, 30 minutes and, you know, you have a shot, no, you have a shot, no, you have a shot, no, you have a shot. You know, put the ball in the back of the net, celebrate when the goal has gone in, and then move on, get another goal. Start being a bit ruthless and a bit clinical. And it's lovely when we win, but when we don't win, this is a pattern. It's been there all year.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Joe, so many great points. So much to unpack, so much to unpick, and we will do that. First of all, what I want to do, Max, I'm going to come to you. In terms of the players taking their foot off, I think Daniel Farke made some mention of it as well in his post-match. What do you put that down to? Is it something that Farke's telling them to do, or is it the players having a little bit of arrogance? How do we change that?
I think there's a bit of a mixture of both. I think in a game like Huddersfield, that was instruction from the manager, and that was the idea to stop that. But I think in the Plymouth game and in this game yesterday, wasn't to do with Farke, that was to do with the players, like Joe says, getting complacent, thinking that because we absolutely battered them in the first half, but we can't then think, oh, we've got this one when it's 1-0. Because you just cannot allow yourself to fall into that trap. Everybody knows that football, and especially in the Championship, any goals can come out of anywhere because teams have so many just tall, bulky Championship players who can just pop up with a header at any point and come back in the game. Obviously, that's not exactly how they scored their goal, but it's not necessarily a done deal, is it? If you're ahead and you're playing really, really well. Having said that, it's the first time this season where we've gone and scored the first goal and not won the game. So we have done well in that department so far. But like Joe says, it's like earlier and earlier in the games it's happening.
There's a bit of feedback. There's an Nico.
Yeah.
Nico.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Somebody listening through their computer?
No.
It's gone now.
No.
It's gone.
Okay.
It's gone, Max.
Like Joe says, earlier and earlier in games that we were starting to take our foot off the gas. And I think it's down to the players and them thinking, oh, we've got this one. We are. And it's not even necessarily that they stop trying to score goals. It's just the lack of concentration at the back. And I do want to slightly excuse the fact that we conceded that goal, not from. So how should I put this? That's not our defense. Half of the defense has been changed from our starting first choice. So it's going to impact us. And that's not anyone's fault in particular because there's injuries and those are the backup players that we have, but they're not good enough playing Cooper and Firpo. Cooper actually had an okay game. But there were times where you just thought, oh my God, he's just been absolutely smoked because he's so slow. But I said this on Joe's podcast earlier. It's a known quantity that Cooper's slow. Everybody knows that he's slow. So when Byram's on the pitch, he's aware of that and he covers him. Rodon covers him. Whereas Firpo is when you're watching it on the TV, off the screen, way up the pitch. And Cooper's left isolated. And somebody like, what was he called? Their striker, Nombe, I think.
Nombe,
Onyedinma as well. He just went, do you know what? That's Cooper. I'm just going to go past him. And he did. And Firpo wasn't there to help him out. And so we look really like we're going to struggle when we don't have our full defensive unit. We're fine if some of our attackers are out because we've got better options on the bench. But in terms of our defense, as soon as one or two, or especially two players are out, I think we're going to struggle. Even though we dominated the game, it's a struggle when you've got those players out.
Yeah, it's definitely. And Kate, I'm going to come to you. Give the fans what they want. Because Joe touched on the old guard and Bamford coming onto the pitch, and I have to agree with Max. I think Cooper had an okay game. I think he won everything in the air, but again, his pace let him down. But if he ain't on the football pitch, we concede a second. He did make that, game-saving tackle, if you like. But yeah, Bamford came on again. I mean, taking shots from everywhere. Even I'm at this point, like, you're doing offside for the goal. There was one moment where it got put through to him, I think, by Pirro, and he's just, he should have latched on to the end of it. I think we've got a good squad, but yeah, this like Ayling don't get a look anymore, does he? So I think like we need to maybe be moving on from Patrick as well, Kate.
Well, it's interesting that people are saying that Cooper had a good game. Cooper for me shouldn't even be starting. Why? I mean, for me, it was like Groundhog Day at the end of yesterday, end of the match. We have Bamford on, we have Cooper. Okay, he Cooper and who's the other one that was on? There was three of them, three of the old guard on yesterday. Cooper, Bamford, and Firpo. I mean, what the hell was he doing on the pitch? He was absolutely appalling. He's another one that can get out of my club. Get out of my club. No, but seriously, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go off on one because I had my rant yesterday. But I mean, look, what more proof does anybody need? It's not working. He shouldn't even be coming. He shouldn't even be used. Jess said Matteo Joseph. Why not give him a shot? What is this like slavish loyalty to people who are not producing the goods? And we are not, by the skin of our teeth, we're hanging on in third, only thanks to Ipswich losing today and Saints drawing. At the end of the day, we could have been in fifth, and it's not good enough. I don't care about the international break at the end of the day. Rotherham had two players out on international duty. We need to bolster the squad so we're not in a position.
Many injuries too. Rotherham.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been said. I totally agree with what Jer says. Every word of it, of that monologue, Jer. It was spot on.
To be fair, though, Kate,
I do think two things, though. I do think we should criticize and praise in equal measure where it's right. Cooper isn't in a great position for the goal, but he's not culpable on his own. There's lots of others. Yeah, he does get done for pace. Well, no, he does get done for pace. We know that. Anyone who thinks he's going to be a fast player, that's on them, not on Liam Cooper. That's the reality. The manager picks him.
That he shouldn't even be there. He shouldn't even get him picked.
I know that, and that's a club.
That's
a club. You're right. That's a club issue, Kate. That's like the club needed to go out and get better players there, and maybe we'll have to do it in January. Yeah. But he does also cover Meslier and make a very good goal line clearance as well, which keeps us in the game. Same thing with people that criticise Meslier for the goal. A couple of minutes later, he makes a very good save 1v1 that stops the ball going to the corner. So I'm just saying there's balance.
Yeah, absolutely. He does the best with what he's got. Absolutely, and he did like keep us out of the doo when he got cleared that goal off the line, but.
In general,
it is like Groundhog Day when we've got three of the old guard from last year playing, and they're not good enough to be the kind of team we want. And I think it was Joe said about Bamford doesn't fit into this system. Cooper, you're absolutely right, Joe. He is good. He against Plymouth, he was good. He made a couple of mistakes, but what do you expect? But generally speaking, he put in a good performance. But at the end of the day, we need new players in to cover that position.
Is that what you're saying, Kate?
I do agree with that in general. I completely agree with you in general. I think we need better defenders, because if he's not going to play Charlie Cresswell, if he's not going to bring him into the fold at all, then clearly there's something wrong there, and we do need to strengthen.
What about a Cooper new contract? Because that's been mooted, hasn't it?
I don't think he can. I don't think he can.
We'll go back to Chesterfield.
I think it's the last season for all of them. Honestly, if you look at the pitch performances, it has to be honestly. We should thank them for their service in the past, but this season they couldn't cut it honestly. So this should be the
Yeah,
last
agree.
season for all of them. Honestly, the one
Yeah.
running out of contract. Yeah, based on bomb.
Andrea,
Should be able to throw though, shouldn't they? They should be able to drop down and play well against Rotherham. They should, like Patrick Bamford should be able to come on, run around against Rotherham and score a goal. He in the Premier League last year. Do you know what I mean? 2 years ago he was capped by England. Like, I mean, how far do you have to fall so quickly? Like, you should be able to do enough against Rotherham at this level.
Yeah.
but it's in here
A lot
for
of that.
Bamford.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say the
Go
same
on,
thing
Luke.
for Bamford. I mean, I'm gonna probably go against the grain here slightly. I thought Patrick Bamford offered us far more than in the 20 minutes he was on in terms of options than Rutter offered us for 70 minutes
I
yesterday.
think he was injured though, Luke, to be fair to him.
Yeah,
Well, whether he was injured or
But
not, he
that's
shouldn't
on
have played him if
Parker,
he was
though,
injured.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's on
yeah.
Parker.
Yeah, that is.
But when you look, I mean, you've only got to look at the opportunities and the positions he was getting in. Look, he didn't make anything of it in that 20 minutes that he was on, but he looked far more dangerous as a number 9 against a Rotherham type side than Rutter did for 70 minutes that he was on the field. Whether you like it or not, whether you like the old guard, there's no fact that Bamford didn't get into better positions than Rutter did for over 70 minutes. Look, Rutter's a far better player. There's no, I'm not going to try and paint any sort of picture here. But to say that he offers nothing, I think is a little bit unfair. Look, it's and just to sort of reiterate what Joe says, I think it is a mental thing for him. I think that's why he took the penalty the other week, just to try and get a bit of morale, a bit of momentum, really, I suppose. Same with Cooper. I thought Cooper was. I mean, he wasn't faultless, but he came in and did a job. And similar for Firpo. I don't think Firpo was that bad.
Oh my god, I disagree with that totally.
He didn't do anything.
He overcommits. He goes. If you look at how Farkas played with Sam Byram in those positions in general, how Farkas played, he wants his fullbacks to cut inside. If you look at yesterday, every time the ball went inside, Firpo was outside. And if you look at what happened was, how many times did we stop dead on the left hand side because he'd gone outside the player and they were turning inside looking for the underlap and he was going the other side. So it ended up being he was too far ahead of the play and had to go back again. If you look at the goal, I'm not blaming him for the goal. To be really clear on that. But when he loses the ball, I mean, Max again talked about this. By the time that's got to the edge of the box, it's taken a bit of time. Firpo was only just coming back into shot, jogging back in now. With your left foot, you burst your backside to get back and win that ball back or get back in position. Sam Byram does it really, really well. He makes sure he's back in. He makes sure he's covered. His defensive job is done right. Junior just wants to go. I think for me, Junior wants to be a wing back and not a fullback. And in a system where we need covering fullbacks, he's not doing that job. Now, it's only one game and it's his first game. And that's
shit, man. He's shit.
With Firpo,
he is shit. He's absolutely shit.
I don't think he was. I agree with you though, Luke. I don't think he was bad. Like he was just okay. He was just okay.
So this is what I'm saying, Joe. That it's not necessarily what he does with the ball. With the ball, he's okay. A lot of the time, he keeps possession and he plays it to a teammate, and he goes and makes a run or whatever. He's fine like that. It's what he does it's what he does when he's not on the ball. Basically, it's
which is
when
nothing.
When he doesn't get back, it's his position, and it's him not being quite in the right place for things and leaving a gap, which then drags Cooper out, and then Cooper gets done for pace, and it's like a domino effect, really, with Firpo being out of position in the first place. So I don't think it's necessarily because you can look at him and you can see it on the ball and you can say, oh, he was pretty decent. He actually had an okay game. But then when you look
nobody passed to him yesterday, though, Max, did they? I mean, nobody was trusting him with the ball.
Yeah.
For me, lads, he didn't have, honestly, on the level of the player we brought in. Player, of course. Yesterday, he was shown on Italian TV, the game not on the TV in Italy, and they were keep saying that he played for Barcelona, he played for Real Betis. We always said that he should be above the level in the championship. For me, it wasn't okay because if we look at his heat map, he was stuck in the middle every time. He didn't go forward. He didn't overlap. He didn't try to. The ball was always on the wings for us because after we score, we stop playing. We slow down. We struggle to go vertical. We keep playing the ball horizontal, and going onto the wings. And Firpo never got past his man, never tried to do one-on-one, never tried to overlap or go inside. He was always stuck in the middle and passing the ball backwards. So, honestly, he didn't offer us anything. I can get Gray. Gray went on international duty, was tired for the whole game. Absolutely tired. He was knackered. Gray. He should have been subbed off. And we should have given a substitute a chance early in the game because Gray was absolutely knackered. Firpo was not. He didn't went away from international duty.
I think it's worth noting, though. He had been out for almost 6 months up until the other week. You know.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm not making excuses for him here. Look, and but when we're saying
6
that,
months
Gray's
with a calf injury. With a calf injury,
Yeah,
the
that's a
longest
calf
calf injury in the history of calf injuries. People have been back with ACLs and tendon issues
Look
in
at
the past.
Stroud, man. Stroud was
Pascal
got
Stroud was
Stroud with
got
a
back with a
hernia.
full hernia in 2
Oh,
weeks,
bless
and
him.
Junior Firpo takes
Lovely
6 months to get back
Pascal.
from a calf strain.
I know.
I
He's
didn't
lazy.
like
He's lazy
this.
on the pitch.
Let's-
He's lazy off the pitch.
Doesn't
Get
wanna be there.
rid. Piss
Yeah,
off
lazy.
to Bruno
Lazy is a good
Bettis
word.
and do his own
Let's-
thing.
let's-
That's what I say.
Listen, without because I am aware that I bash Firpo, and I don't want to turn this into a Firpo bashing, but it's nice to know there's so many on board. But I don't want it to make about him. But just to finish up, people keep saying that he's good at this level. I've just watched West Brom versus Ipswich, and I would take Leif Davis and Connor Townsend over him every day of the week. And this is the issue. I don't think he's at the level.
They play with 4. He cannot play with 4.
Yeah.
We said that.
Luke, I'm going to
His
come back to
question
you.
is,
Give me
Joe,
your
that he
thoughts on
should
the...
be. It's not that it's that he
Yeah,
should be good
but
at this
he isn't,
level,
bro.
you know.
This is what I mean, but he isn't.
And that's the point, that you look at him against Rotherham and you go, why aren't you better than the fullback? Why is the
Because
fullback
he's
why is the winger getting past you so consistently? Like you're supposed to be better than this. And I think a lot of us are hanging on to the hope that, well, maybe he will be, you know, because he has played that. But there's outside of the game against Southampton last season that he played, outside of that game, there is little to no evidence that suggests that Junior Firpo is a good enough left back to be a regular player in the league. The fact that a right back with a history of the last 10 years of injuries has been a far better left back than he is after playing for Barcelona and Real Betis is an indictment.
I think we've got his twin.
Better as the season goes on, he very may well be. But we want to win this league, don't we? We want to get promoted out of this division, don't we? So we have to stop.
Waiting for people.
It's a mentality issue. It's a
Not
mentality
only
issue.
ruthless on the pitch, but we've got people that are ruthless with our team selections. If people aren't up to the level, then they've got to come out of the team. We can't keep just waiting.
You can't have passengers.
Let's move on. I want to come back to Luke. And Luke, give me your thoughts on the game, mate. Not
Just really quickly before we do move on, though, Firpo's injury was a knee collateral ligament tear, not a calf strain.
How was it?
Yeah, just at the risk of misspreading information. I don't
Still
want anyone
6
to
months though. Injury.
Oh, misinformation czar in the top right.
Fake news.
So, look, in terms of the game, it was very much what I expected. I expected Rotherham to sit back and absorb pressure and try and hit us on the counter. And look, they did it. And arguably, their better chances came from down our right, their left, throughout. You know, and I think that had a lot to do with. I don't think Dan James was at the races yesterday. I don't think he was working as hard as what we've seen him work, and you know that's what got him in the lineup, because he works hard. He works harder than Willie Nonto, defensively and in attack. So yeah, in terms of the game, it was very much what I expected. And look, we could have on another day, and I keep saying this, and I feel like I'm repeating myself quite often, that we should be going into games. We need to be more clinical, because we should have been going in at half-time 4-0 up.
Yes.
3 or 4-0 up. And that's a different game. And then we can take the foot off the gas like we do at Huddersfield. Don't get anybody injured. Play the ball around. If we concede, we concede. Let's so be it. We've still got 3 points. But yeah, it just seems to be we just seem to be missing that killer instinct, don't we? And
why is that though? Why?
Absolutely.
Do you know what? I don't know. I've said this a number of times. With teams that set up with two flat fours, we really struggle to break them down, because Pirro drops too deep to pick up the ball, so he's not playing in the 10 because he's sitting back too far deep, and he's not as an effective. The further him and Rutter are away from each other, the worse we play as a whole, because they don't feed off each other. They don't play very well. Neither of them had a good game yesterday. For me, but you look at the games where they've played really well, where we've Huddersfield, Ipswich, Norwich, where they've played really, really well together, and either of them got goals and assists in the specific games. But we need those two to almost be playing like second strikers to each other and just rotate. There was no rotation yesterday at all. I don't remember Pirro getting in front of Rutter once. Where you look in the games that we have the success, and the games where we look like we have got a bit of a killer instinct, and we are a level above, is is where those two are much closer together. So we can blame our defence all we want, but when you've got 70, 80 million pounds worth of strikers on the field that can't score against Rotherham,
It's very fair.
know. It's appalling, isn't it?
Just the thing about we talked about Dan James before, and I think one of the things we said about him before was you got to know when to use him and when not to use him, and you've got to be bold enough and brave enough to make those decisions. Against teams that leave space in behind, Dan James makes perfect sense. Against a low block, Dan James doesn't make any sense because there's no space for him to run into. So again, that comes down to a tactical and a management decision of going, does this game suit? I mean, the first half you could see Dan James wasn't going to get any space in behind. It just wasn't going to happen. So at that decision, it's not like I said at halftime on Twitter, I'm not saying you're playing a bad game, Dan James, but it doesn't suit you, this game. And it does suit other players. It might suit Jayden Anthony, it might suit Willie Gnonto. And you've got to be able to make those decisions early in a game and take that player out and go,
spot on.
This is not an indictment of you. You've done very well the last 8-9 games. You've been really, really good, but this isn't suiting you. There's no space
before a game.
They take him out and swap him over.
For me, it needs to be before a game, and he's got to be brave enough to make that decision because, yes, Dan James is in good form, but it's like making the easy choice, isn't it? Everyone will, at the time, everyone will go, oh, yeah, Dan James is in good form. It makes sense to pick him. But he needs to make that difficult decision and go, do you know what? Yes, Dan James is in good form, but this is not the game for him because we're playing against Rotherham, who we know at home will play deep. They'll try and soak up the pressure and not let you score. And like Jer says, there's no space in behind for Dan James. So I think you've got to look at that game and go, you know what? For me, me personally, I would say that's more of a Willie Gnonto game because he's got a little bit more trickery to his game. He can do a couple of step overs and beat a man, whereas Dan James, when he tries to beat him and he knocks it past him and runs past him, but there isn't that gap to run into. So you've got to be brave as a man. I'm telling Daniel Farker this, but like for me, you've got to be brave as a manager and make those decisions before kickoff to say that it's not his game. Otherwise, what's the point in having the resources that we have in attack? Because yes, they make good substitutes, but if you're bringing on somebody for the last 30 minutes like Gnonto, you'd rather have him for the 60 minutes and then try Dan James at the end.
It doesn't change before the 70 minutes. We know that.
No.
Right now.
No.
That's another problem too, on what you're saying, Max.
But that has to change with that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That is a problem.
Andrea, give us your thoughts, mate.
Well, I think the game for us finished after they scored, honestly. We played well until we scored. Then after the goal, we stopped playing. We slowed down. We had no central playing. We were constantly playing on the wings. And when we scored, if you look at the build-up with Roder passing the ball to Somerville, making the running behind, they were playing a high line against us with Pertier against Somerville. And it was very narrow because they had their midfield basically on the halfway line and their back line very high. And they were caught in behind, by that ball with Peltier out and some of it going in behind. After that, we stopped doing that. After we scored, we stopped doing that and we went back to play the ball very slowly between Ampadu and Kamara. There were no spaces because they were they were not pressing, but they were static with formation Rotherham. So there were spaces to get towards the ball, but no one was going towards the ball centrally. So the ball got stuck multiple times with Gray and Firpo. And our style, our game plan was give the ball to Somerville and let's hope for the best. It looked like AC Milan when they play with Leao.
Relying on him too much.
Yeah, relying into Matchgate, absolutely. And I didn't like that because we are a team full of quality. We are full of quality. But that quality needs to be used properly. And I agree totally with what the other said, especially Max in his last speech, intervention. We need to use the other players and try to adapt to games. Because right now the mentality is the other team should adapt to us. It's not us who should be adapting to the type of game we are gonna face. So we always play the same formation with the same style of football. And when we play against a low block or team waiting and narrowing and creating narrowness and crowding in the middle, we get stuck. It's also a mentality issue. I agree with Luke, who said killer instinct. We don't have the mentality right now to put the games to sleep. We don't have it. Look at Plymouth. Huddersfield, we were 4-0 up. We let them score in the second half. Also yesterday, they were a terrible team. Honestly, I think one of the worst teams we faced. They have no quality, at all. Rotherham.
But you look at Sheff Wednesday as well, Andre. We struggled exactly the same.
Exactly.
Almost identical game.
Yeah, exactly. Identical game, honestly. And if you look at the difference in quality and investment too, in terms of what we spent in the summer to bring in players and what they've spent, it's madness, because the amount of quality we have, we weren't able to thread them in the second half. We had 2 chances, honestly, in the first half after we scored, but they were on the counter attack. They were not through direct passing and runs in behind and central play. So honestly, I'm very deluded, honestly, about disappointed, not deluded about the performance of yesterday, because by the time
you are deluded, like. I'm only joking.
We're all deluded, otherwise we wouldn't be on here.
Disillusioned,
in Italian you say deluso, which is disappointed in English. So it's I need that, you know.
I'm so deluded.
Yeah,
look. Quick question. Do we think this is Farke's problem? Do we think if we can all recognise this? And is Farke the problem? Are we seeing a little bit of Bielsa in there, a little bit of stubbornness that he doesn't want to change?
I think so.
Yeah, it is. Norwich fans said that too at the time when they were in the Championship. It's also, they won the league twice, but they were saying that too when he was their manager. He's too stubborn, you know. But he had players also to play in a certain style of football. This time he doesn't have certain players. In Firpo is not the ideal fullback of Farke. Rotter and Pirro is not the ideal number 10 of Farke. So he's playing a system with players who don't suit the system for me, honestly. And he keeps playing them there because he wants them to adapt to his style of football. But clearly with Pirro, it's not working. Clearly with Firpo, it's not going to work because he can play in that style of football, but with a back 5, not even a back 4. He cannot defend. He cannot track back. We've seen that yesterday.
You can see that he's doing this.
Sorry, go on, Max.
I was just going to say quickly that he's doing the same things every time that we need to get a result at the end of a game. He does the exact same thing of taking off a full back, putting on an extra attacker, and basically just throwing everybody forward. And it's like it does the same thing. And one day someone's going to punish us for that because we're going to have no defenders.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not also, Max. That's not a tactical stroke by a coach.
Sink.
That's literally taking all of the most talented players you have and saying all of you go up front, and then you're hoping that the quality up there is better than the quality of defenders that are there, and you'll get your. And when it works, it's a genius masterstroke. But when it doesn't work, you're going, well, where's your actual plan B? Because that's not a plan B. That's a Hail Mary. You know, putting all your players in something, that's a Hail Mary. You know, I
disagree.
I'm glad Luke asked the question. I'm glad Luke asked the question because there's a point today where I'm like, there's just little bits about some of the stuff that we're doing that just seems to be limping on. Our substitutions and our changes as a team all up are very reactive. Like he'll make changes for midweek because it wasn't good against Rotherham. He'll make changes. Same reason he made changes for the game for Stoke. He was like, oh, well, it's an obvious game to make changes in. But like his substitutions are reactive. Like something happens, he makes a change. But like we're not proactive in anything that we're doing. We're not going in with different game plans. We're not changing the system up slightly to play against different sides. We're not changing the personnel to play against different teams, different style of players. We're taking the same players off.
Did he get the original team selection yesterday?
With pretty much the same players and everything. That's predictable.
Did he get the team selection yesterday right? The initial selection. Do you think?
See, the problem with saying that, I'm not saying you're wrong, but the problem with saying that is you're judging it on what's happened after the game and not before the game. So before the game, you look at that and go, you probably can't make many changes. For me, the one change was if Jorginho Rutter was injured, genuinely,
he wasn't fit.
Injured, then he shouldn't have played. If he got 60 again, I am. Sorry, I keep freezing. If Jorginho Rutter wasn't 100%, he shouldn't start that game. He shouldn't start the game. If he's 60%, he shouldn't start that game because that's telling everybody else sitting on the bench, all the reserve players, that a 60% Jorginho Rutter is still better than you and is going to play ahead of you. If you're not 100%, we need 11 players out there that are 100%. If we've got too many players away in international duty, first world problem. Poor us, we've got too many international players. You know, then you've got players who've been there for 2 weeks. Work with them for 2 weeks and get them on the pitch.
But do you think that the lineup was right yesterday? I personally didn't pre-game.
I don't like the left side of the defense.
Sorry.
I don't like that left side of defense combination. I don't like Cooper with Firpo. I don't like that combination. And Max has said exactly why.
Would you have played Stroke or Byron from the get-go then? Because he's obviously saving them. isn't he? Yeah,
They-
yeah.
they-
I
they-
would-
they-
I
they
think they're
were-
not
they
Every
were-
winning.
time if they're fit, honestly,
They're
every
not-
They're
time.
not, yeah, they're not fit.
I don't.
Yeah, they're not fit. Otherwise, they'd have played them. They'll play on Wednesday.
We need better options there, then, Joe. We need
Yeah,
we need a better
but
we need better left
can I-
back cover. And we've said it for so long.
But the
Can I
problem
just-
goes back to the problem that actually the problem wasn't actually the defence yesterday. We conceded a slack goal, yeah, but actually when the problem was actually breaking them down and scoring our own goals with the quality we had on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say as well?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're dead right.
Are we not being a little bit too harsh here?
But it's like no, it's not like it's not the end of the
let
world.
me
You got a point.
just-
No,
And
based
we're
on the
playing
performance.
closer.
Just
We're
based on
playing
the
closer to
performance.
Ipswich than we were before the
No,
weekend started.
we're saying based on the performance, but we're basically lambasting Daniel Farke's tactics. He's
No, we're not. I don't think. No,
You are.
I think
though.
we're-
We are.
I
we're
think
not
we're
that
just-
last.
I
We're
think-
saying
Just let me finish. I just think that we are like third in terms of form in the league in the last 10. We've lost 1 in like 8 games. Yes, Rotherham didn't go as planned, but I mean, it ain't that bad. I don't think it's as bad as what.
no, it's
people-
not. And I'm not saying it's that bad. I'm not being defeatist there because look, we're 1 point closer to Ipswich now than we were before we kicked the ball at the weekend. So that's a positive. And Southampton haven't caught up with us, which is a miracle, which is great. There's a lot of good things there. But you can't look at performances like Rotherham and say it's a one-off because it hasn't been a one-off. We've gotten away with it against Huddersfield. We got away with it against
We didn't
Plymouth.
get away with it. We'll
No,
4-0 up.
Sorry, all right. I'll rephrase it. I will rephrase it. The
We're
second half
4-0 up.
performance against Huddersfield, we conceded a goal and we didn't score. You
Yeah,
know,
but we're
against
4-0
QPR,
up.
same thing. Like what I'm saying is, and
We're
I said this to you,
4-0 up.
those-
That's the wrong game. Use a different
Norwich,
game.
Norwich, Joe,
it
Norwich.
doesn't matter.
First
No,
half
it's,
against
that's
Norwich.
the problem. I'm not. It's not just about
Southampton.
Oh, he's gone.
this game or that game. I'm saying as a team with these performances keep leaking in throughout the whole
Yes.
season. Like it's the second half, whether it's 20 minutes at the start of the first half against Norwich. We've had these performances, we just can't get going, or we've taken our foot off the gas, and they catch up with you because. And we saw it yesterday. I mean, the warning should have been against Huddersfield. Don't take your foot off the gas that much against the team again. And then we do it against Plymouth when it's even tighter. And like that's the second warning. Stop doing this. It's going to catch up with you. And then Rotherham happens, and you're going, well, it's only one game, but it's not one game. It's the first half against Norwich. It's Birmingham City in its entirety. It's Huddersfield Town second
No,
half. It's
you're not
Plymouth
having that
second half.
Birmingham game. You're not having
and
that
also-
Birmingham game. Yeah, Jamie Shackleton
crapping
at right
that
back.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. But I'm saying
All right,
the
wing,
Right wing.
Yeah, all right.
And
you're
And also,
missing
you
my
can't
point.
keep
My
relying
point
on
is
other
that when we
teams to
take-
do
when we
badly
take our
just
foot
so
off,
we can do well.
We haven't done that though, Kate. We haven't done that. This is
Well,
the
we
only
did
week
last
that's
season,
happened.
and that's what we've done today.
Last
Otherwise,
season.
we would have been down
Last
in fifth.
season.
If it wasn't for Ipswich
Can't
losing.
Last
can't
season,
ignore
what we
performances.
doing?
I think my
Right.
biggest gripe. I think my biggest gripe is that it isn't with Daniel Farke's tactics as a whole, because when it works magically, and we look really good. It's having a different game plan for teams like Sheffield Wednesday, for teams like Rotherham, who we expect and know are going to set up with a low block with 2 banks of 4. And we're just going to try and tippy-tappy it around and try. We need to have a different option. And I think it goes back to even team selection. Dan James should not probably have been selected as the right winger yesterday, because we knew we weren't going to get much space in behind. We've already said we need to ensure that Ampadu and Kamara are pushing their forwards further back, so that leaves Pirot closer to Rutter, which gives us a little bit more freedom to play a bit more expressively, and let players run off. It's not down to Daniel Farke's overall tactics, because what we've seen this season has been nothing short of chalk and cheese in comparison to last season. So we are seeing it, just not enough of it. And what I would like to see, I suppose, is a different type of plan against these teams that are going to... Not even a different type of plan, I don't suppose, because we're controlling these games. I mean, for 80% of that game yesterday, we looked fully in control. It's just we need to
Couldn't get
be
anything
more
out of
clinical.
it as usual.
Yeah, we control, but we don't create. That's the problem. Is just the ball possession. We need to have a different plan, be clinical, because that ball possession is not like that. It's not working. It doesn't work against Sheffield Wednesday. It doesn't work against Stoke, for example. And
Stoke, we were down to 10 men.
Yeah, but also if you want
to win that game,
not for the whole game, we weren't great for most of that game.
No, but we win that game.
Exactly.
I still stand by that point.
Yeah,
also,
but again, it's
the same again. Another example.
Go on.
No, another example.
Max said, "Shut up."
I know. Just quick. Sorry, go on, Andrea, have the floor.
I'm just talking with someone in the chat about beards.
I'm just saying that.
I know.
No, another example of when we were down to many is Hull City. You know, we weren't clinical there too, and we need to be proactive in that sense. Honestly, I think we're in a good position still to challenge for top two. Absolutely, I've read certain people say that the race for top two is over, but before the games of today, of course, it hasn't gone in our way. It has gone in our way because Ipswich, of course, lost and Saints draw, but. For me, still a missed opportunity, you know, because of course the gap with Ipswich could have been 2-5 now, honestly, and they had harder games than us today because they Ipswich played against West Brom and of course Watford were in form and Leicester, of course, won. Saints was probably the easiest game between the three of them, you know. I think if you look at the top four, the easiest game was the one we had against Rotherham on paper. So honestly, I don't want to
Away from
look
home,
back.
though, it's not a nice place to go. That
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
I know, but look at their level, look at their quality. They were going through in the middle of a managerial change. They had a caretaker on leading them on the bench. They scored on the one opportunity, apart from the one of the clearance from Cooper. But apart from that, what was their game plan basically? Sitting and waiting for us, try to cut all the spaces, the passing lines, creating a system, sending us on the wings, and we fell into the trap. And we stopped playing. If we keep attacking them, Luke, if we keep attacking them like we did before we scored the first goal, we win that game 3-4-0.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But
based
we
on the
didn't.
quality and the rhythm we have.
to be fair, Rotherham defend at home are very, very tough to break down and beat. Ipswich only got a point there. I think they beat
Sunderland, I think.
Yeah, they
it's
got
not a nice
points
place to
against
go at home.
Southampton. They're a good side at home.
They were. What
yeah,
I thought in that
mediocre.
first half, they
Not
were.
over the goddamn pudding. They're in 22nd.
They were awful in that first half in terms of what they're actually offered in attacking wise. They just literally every time they looked up to go forward, they were like, "Oh, we can't do that." So then they'd pass backwards and then backwards and backwards all the way to the goalkeeper, who would literally just hoof it as far as he could and hope for a knockdown. Rodon or Cooper would just easily win it and tap it back down. The whole thing would do again. Then they just go back to the keeper, hoof, and I was like, what, like, this isn't football. Like, what is going on here? They're just like hoofing it up the pitch. In the second half, we allowed them to actually have a little bit more in the way of chances, because in that first half we dominated them so badly that they just didn't even have a chance to attack. So really we let them back into the game, and that's, I suppose, what the major issue is that we're letting teams back into games where really they should have no hope, because they should be feeling like, oh my god, and that we're being absolutely dominated here, but surely they shouldn't ever have that chance to go, oh, actually we can get back into this. And we've given them
the chance to win it too. Actually,
Daniel Farke almost sets the scene for this kind of mentality when we're away at home on an evening. I mean, he's been whinging and whining for how long that we've got a Friday evening fixture. I mean, get over it and get your players over it as well, because it seems to me every time we're away on an evening fixture, we just we're a shadow of what we should be, really. I
think all managers do this though. Klopp does it bloody. I mean, the only guy that done it is probably Bielsa. The rest fucking do it, don't they? So,
but that's not doesn't mean it's right, Joe, does it?
No, but I think
like, come on, it's Friday. Come on, let's go out.
I think he has got a point, though. I don't take it as an excuse, but I do think Farke has got a point.
And what is that?
Because of the international break.
Well, Dan James, Ethan Ampadu, Rodon, and Nonto.
Can we really complain about having
wait.
No, we can't, Jack.
No, I'm not.
Ridiculous.
Let me finish, right? You've just said, what's his point? Well, them 4 players on Wednesday night were flying back, didn't get to train, and then had to play. That's the issue. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. I'm just saying he has got a point.
Play different players. You've got a squad. Play different players. Play fresher players.
Yeah, exactly.
Jaden Anthony could have come on. I mean, there's plenty of people that could have played. He didn't have to pick those players. It was a poor team
agree.
selection given the circumstances.
Can I just say as well?
Ampadu was
problem.
knackered.
If-
Ampadu was
if-
knackered too.
Very easy in hindsight,
If
though,
the
isn't
issue,
it?
I said that
it
before,
is. But
actually.
there's still things you can do. I mean, but it goes back to the question of the depth of the squad. Then again, doesn't it? It goes back to, does he trust the squad that he has? And if he's willing to play players that are tired and rather than play players that have been around the club for the last 2 weeks and who didn't go away on international duty, then maybe that just says the players that are there aren't good enough. That we need better quality players, and that, to have the depth that he needs to be able to rotate that squad properly. And that could be what it is. It could be something as simple as that. There's I mean, there was somebody said in the chat that the Welsh lads look knackered. They did. They did look knackered. I mean, and it's not a coincidence that every time Ampadu comes back from after playing a lot of international games for Wales, he has his lesser kind of game, the first game for us. I won't say bad game because he's still very good. But not at the great level. And it's understandable. You've got 2 days rest and then you're asked to travel again and play a nighttime game, and it's not ideal, and it shouldn't. But we have a load of international players because we had a Premier League team. So, that swings and roundabouts. It's a first world problem,
Get over it. Do you want to win the
we should
bloody
still have
league
enough
or
quality
not?
depth to be able
You know
to
what I
beat
mean?
Rotherham.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's the point.
I think
we'll see what happens in January. We'll see if they do replace some of the backup options and with better players. And that'll be the question. If they do, if they don't, then Farke is happy with his squad, and then it becomes a question around how he rotates that squad.
I think everyone's like over egging this draw, like as though it's
not particularly this draw.
It's not the draw.
It's not this game, Joe. It's that we've played well this season so far, and we've got a good points. We've got a good points total.
It's the way it happened. Sorry,
we've got a good points total, and we've got up to third position, and it's not the end of the world, right? We did well considering we had a bad start as well, because Farke didn't manage to get all his players in time. The takeover, all this stuff. He said it was going to take a little while, and it has, right? But then after that, we're just talking about the little cracks that we can see. That we think if we want to win the league, these are the things that we would like to be fixed. It's not necessarily that it's all doom and gloom, it's the end of the world, but this game in general is a perfect chance for us to talk about all of the problems that have cost us points over the previous games. And it's not necessarily that it was the worst performance in the world or anything like that. It's just that we can start to see some cracks where you think an automatic promotion winning team isn't making these mistakes, and so we just need to.
They are though. Leicester.
Okay,
if you want to be
Ipswich. 1 second. Ipswich have won 1 in 4. Southampton dropped points at Huddersfield. I think we're being
overperforming.
Well, we need to be better than them, not the same as them.
Yes.
If we want to get promoted.
Or worse. Honest to God.
And what have we lost? 1 in 8? Is that not better?
But Joe, this is the point, Joe. When we win a game, it's not always perfect, and when we lose a game, the world's not on fire. There's bits to both. So when
but
we
I
do
feel like
points,
it is tonight.
Look at it objectively and say, why have we dropped points? When we do win a game, you've got to go, well, what made us win that game? You've got to look at the games in their foot. I mean, that's the whole point of not being reactive to things, is to go, when it's not perfect, you've got to be able to say, I mean, you can't look at Leeds' performances this season and say, every time we take our foot off the gas, we can see the goal. It has happened. It's the evidence is there. It's been in a lot of games, and the concern is if you don't nip that out of your game, it stays in there and it creeps and it costs you at times that it shouldn't cost you. That's a glaring weakness that needs to be knocked out of that team, and it's one that should be worked on and should be easy to fix, because it's a tempo thing. It's literally when we drop down to second gear, we're not as good a team and teams can score against us, and it's usually a sloppy goal. If you want to win this league, if you want to close that gap, you got to fix those mistakes. You've got to identify that that's the problem and that's costing you points, or that's the reason that it's not as clean as it should be. Get rid of that, fix that problem, and then it's clean. It's clear sailing after that. But you've got to look at it. Same last season, we conceded a lot of goals from balls being pulled back to the edge of the box. You've got to work on that. You could win a game 3-1, but you can still concede that goal on a consistent basis. Then that's the goal you've got to work on. You've got to make sure you knock that out of your game. You've got to be improving all the time, or else you're going to get left behind by everybody else. So it's not the end of the world, the point to get Rotherham. It turns out to be a half decent point as the weekend went on. But you've got to look at this in its entirety. That has happened way too often this year for us to be steamrolling towards promotion. Do you know what I mean?
I disagree. I'm not aware of when this has happened.
Oh my God.
You're not aware that when
There
we've
are
dropped off
there
our
are multiple
tempo in games
options,
we've conceded goals,
Sam.
Joe.
Come then,
Joe,
you
this
tell me
Tell
them.
me you haven't
tippy-tappy
seen any of the
passing out from the back
Once,
when
Plymouth.
making the wrong
What-
decisions when that
Plymouth,
ball
Joe.
should be going
One
forward,
second.
and we
1 sec.
do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
happened.
right. When you say tippy tappy passing out from the back here, that's how we play. What do you want them to do?
I
Lever
know,
it
but
upfield?
It
there's
slows
certain
down.
times when you
One
need to
second.
make a decision to
Fast.
One
go.
sec. One person at a time. Go on, Kate.
Yeah, but not all the time. There are certain times and certain parts in a game where you need to get that ball back up. That is one of the reasons why we lost that. We lost that goal, and they scored against us in the 46th minute. That ball should have been at the other end of the pitch. It's just
No,
fancy passing too many times. The amount of touches that Leeds had were ridiculous.
I disagree on that point because that was in the centre of the park where he's lost that ball. I don't know what we're just gonna hoof it upfield. I'm not too sure. Joe, what were you gonna say?
Passes, Joe. It's too many.
That's a good. Anyway, go on, Joe. Go on.
No, I'm just saying
You're
you-
muted, bro.
it's saying is right.
You're
In
muted.
as far as if you look at, it's about tempo. It's about the speed at which you move the ball. And some of it's just an issue you have to deal with. We know what Liam Cooper is like. And again, I say, if you expect anything different from Liam Cooper, that's on you. It's not on Liam Cooper. That's the player he is, and that's how he played and has played for years. When he comes out the back, he takes a lot of touches down, which slows us down. Sorry.
Yeah, we lost a bit.
1 second.
We lost a
1
bit, Joe.
second. Everyone, Joe, go on.
Sorry, my internet keeps freezing. When, for example, yesterday, when Cooper gets the ball and comes out with it, right, it's slow. He takes a lot of touches, but that's who he is, and you can't expect anything differently, so I'm not blaming him. But if you look at Stroud, when he comes in, he gets that ball, he's bombing forward. If there's no option to pass the ball forward, he's running into space quickly. And then he's looking for a quick pass, and then it's passed across quickly, and then there's movement off the ball, and people are rapidly. Look at the first 10 minutes of that game against Rotherham. Look at the amount of movement off the ball. Look at the speed of the movement. Look at the speed of the passing. It's one touch pass. By the second half, we're over carrying the ball. We're taking too many touches. We've slowed it right down. You know, it's not the same. And when we've done really well, when we put the forward pass Huddersfield, watch that. It's fast moving football. It's quick out from the back. It is tippy-tappy football. It is, and I'm okay with that. But it's fast passing football. It's loads of touches from loads of players, not loads of touches from one player. And then yesterday we got into territory where lots of players were doing lots of running with the ball on their own. The passing wasn't as crisp or as fast as it should have been. And it's much easier to defend against when a team is moving the ball rapidly around you. And we've had some lovely moments this year that we do build up quickly and we do have that possession against the low block on the edge, but we're moving it quickly. We've gotten in behind. We've gotten chances. When it's slow, it doesn't work for us, and it hasn't worked for us. And again, going back, if you look at the second half against Plymouth, if you look at the second half against Huddersfield, I know there's reasons for it, and you can say that they're taking the foot off the gas because they're resting best, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But you see the problems then. And then when you go to a Rotherham team and you score so early on, and there is a little bit maybe of complacency starts to sleep in of, we've got this, we'll batter these, and then you take your foot off that gas and you drop down to second gear and it's slow again. It is so hard for a team to motivate themselves to get going again. It's just in football in general, to go from a slow tempo up to a fast-paced tempo is really hard to do when you've dropped down. And we did that yesterday and we couldn't get back out of it. Second half for Rotherham, yeah, it's a low block, but look how slowly Leeds are passing the ball around the edge of them. You know, it's loads of possession, but there's no real tempo to it. And we're better than that. And that's the point. We can be better than that. We've seen that we're better than that. And that's the level that we should be expecting in these games, not a lesser level, not going into games against lower teams in second gear, but going against lower teams in fifth gear and absolutely smashing it out of the park. And then take the foot off the gas and then rotate the players, but get the result in the bag first. And my issue is, and it's a small issue, I am nitpicking, 100% I'm nitpicking, but it is a concern that I have that it's creeping in a lot of games. And I would rather we got it out of our game and out of our system completely and got back to just winning football matches properly and stop this thing about getting overconfident around the edge of the box or taking too many touches. Or player like Somerville should pass to Pirro, he passes to Kamara. Then a couple of seconds later, Pirro should pass to Somerville and he has a volley, a half-hour volley over the crossbar. Should score a header in the first couple of minutes as well. Within the first half, if Leeds had done things properly, they'd be 3-0 out, so done. But they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, they took it down a level, and that's the issue I have.
I agree.
know how good this team can be. Sorry. No, I know how good this team can be when they're at 100%. And I just don't feel that all the time where we do it 100%. And anything less than that, I just don't think we're as good.
I think it's
But it's nitpicking. I am nitpicking.
I'm just going to say it comes down to it's part of the same problem that we were talking about when we didn't start fast in games. So the Southampton game is a good example of that. It's the same thing. because it's not that we don't take our foot off the gas in those games where we didn't start fast. It's that we didn't put our foot on the gas to start with, so that we're playing at that tempo that Joe's saying, where we're not fast enough to do anything. We don't move the ball quick enough. There's not enough like get up and go to go right, go pass the ball sideways. Now there's a gap, go, and you go through that gap and you break the lines of the press and you try to attack. It can all be wrapped up into a similar problem. It's now that we have almost fixed the original problem of starting too slow, which was also causing us issues and making us concede goals. And now we start quick, but then we fall off. And it's about trying to just maintain that at least till half time, at least till you can get in at half time, winning the game. But yeah, for me, I think it comes down to the same thing, that the issue is when we don't play the ball fast enough, when we don't have enough urgency to go, do you know what, let's go forward, let's try and attack, because we've got the players to do it. It's just how that happens in a game, whether it's us starting slowly and doing that, or us starting fast and then taking our foot off the gas. But like Jer says, when you play football, if you are on the back foot a little bit and you've slowed things down, it's so hard to get going again. It's so hard to get up to what you were doing before. And I think, if we'd just put away our chances as well in the times where we are ahead, it doesn't even matter as much if we take our foot off the gas, because we could have been 3-4-0 up by then. And if they score a little consolation goal at half time, it's not the end of the world. We can go, oh, we shouldn't let that one in. We can work on our defensive structure because of that. But because we didn't finish our chances earlier in the game, we then allow them back into it, and
Go on, Luke.
I think that's exactly what it comes down to. I'm with you a little bit, Joe. I don't understand the big outrage about dropping 2 points yesterday. Obviously, it's not great, not ideal. We should have been beating a team like Rotherham away. But ultimately, as you've just said, Max, only 10 seconds ago, had we taken our chances, the system must have been working for us to get those chances, right?
Yeah,
the system worked. Yeah. So if we
I was just going to say, sorry, the point is that you can't rely on us taking our chances, because clearly we don't. So you have to keep up the tempo to
This is wild, man. This is wild. I swear to God.
We're not saying that it's the end of the world, though, because it sounds
no.
But
what
you're
you're
saying
why
it sounds like it. But
what you're saying is that Leeds United need to be 100% all of the fucking time, which is just impossible.
No, we just
need to finish games off before they take a foot off the gas, Joe. They need to go and score 2-3 goals and then do it. You know, not one. You can't take a foot off the gas. But
look what happened. Do you think? Right. So do you think they score that yesterday and they go, "Oh, we've got this one now"? Do you genuinely felt like that's what went on?
It looked like it, though, Joe.
No credit to Rotherham whatsoever.
It's not a conscious decision. It's because obviously they don't without getting to speak to each other at half time, where they can all speak to each other. They haven't had that chance to even talk to each other about anything other than what's happening right on the pitch. It's a psychological thing, and it's in the background, a subconscious thing. They just know that they're brilliant footballers compared to most of the Championship, and so they just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. And it's just about that split second of concentration drop in professional football. You're punished. Even in the Championship, you have a split second where you drop your guard, or you're out of position, because you might take a risk where you think, we're dominating this game, I can get forward, I might be able to go and get myself a goal. Or Firpo thinking, if I overlap, I can do something in an attack here. It's taking unnecessary risks because you think that you're completely in control of things. So I don't think it's necessarily a decision where they've gone, because I get that might be what we were saying. It sounds like we were saying, but I think it's just a subconscious thing where players take a risk that they wouldn't, or they subconsciously just think that they're in a better position than they are, and it ends up in conceding goals.
Not hungry enough.
Can I just clarify something? Because it's kicking on the chat again.
Stop laughing,
We've
Joe.
already said we're nitpicking. We've already said we're nitpicking, right? We haven't said that this is the end of the world in the league. We've actually said the opposite. We said when we win every game, we're not brilliant. We lose every game, the world's not on fire. We've said that. That's already been said. So we're not saying we're going down to League One, and we're not complaining about a draw. We're pointing out that there are areas of the game that Leeds need to get better at in order to finish teams off. That's all we're saying. That is it. And there's one area that we're talking about in particular, and that is it. It's not tactical. It's not strategy. It's tempo. It's just tempo. That's all it is. At higher tempo, everyone keeps saying it. We can't play it 100% all the time, but we haven't done 90 minutes at full tempo yet. I want to see us do at least 75 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
I think the closest we've come is Watford.
Watford
Closest
was
we've come is Watford for me.
I mean, we've talked
Watford
about a
in
lot
first
this year.
half
Going,
was understood.
imagine when we actually take our chances against some team, we're going to absolutely batter some team. I want to see that
Yeah.
once. I
Yeah.
want to see us go and do that, and then fine.
Yeah.
But we are look. I mean, the point is, we need to take clean sheets are important, right? They're important for lots of reasons, but they're very important to have. We concede goals to lesser teams, and we don't concede goals against better sides, except for Southampton. But in general, we're better against better sides than we are against poorer sides, because against better sides, our level has to be higher for longer. We have to be on it for the whole game. So we played against Ipswich, dominated it. Against Leicester, we were excellent.
Oh, but we conceded goals against Ipswich.
But then we dropped down to this level of the bottom teams. Lower teams can drag you down to their level. And there's a bit of us when we go down to play against these teams, it's not the same, because it doesn't have to be the same, but we need to be better than that. Like, we need to be able to turn it on. We need to turn it on. And that's all. It's not a glowing indictment or anything of the entire side. I'm not saying Daniel Farke doesn't know what he's doing. None of that. I'm just saying, if you look at that game yesterday, there was an element of the game that's been in a couple of our matches that I think we need to get better at if we're going to get up automatically. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I just want to clarify something as well, because I am letting people have their point. Let me just say that I just disagree with it. Like, I don't get what the issue is. I'm not going to say
good
yeah,
to
you're right.
isn't it?
Exactly. What am I supposed to say? Yeah, you're right.
That was grand, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I genuinely don't understand. Why? Yeah. Anyway, I am shocked. Go on, Andrea. Who did you?
No, just a quick one, because I tried to say that previously. A very quick one. My point of view is that we have a good team. We were in form. It's just a setback. It's just a part of the process. But these things happened before, so we need to work hard. And I think we have the manager to do that, because it was Farke. It's not like we're saying, oh, he's not going to get us promoted. For me, I'm still convinced he's the right manager to get us promoted. But it doesn't need to be stubborn. I think he needs to be more flexible in terms of how he handles the team. Because right now, I'm not concerned about the football we play, mainly. I'm concerned about, honestly, the mentality. Because sometimes I want to see more players stepping up. Because yesterday, if you look at the game, our leader technically and also in terms of attitude on the pitch, trying to do something, try to move things around, was Somerville, one of the youngest players. So I want to see the senior players, also the players who have experience, like we've seen Ampadu in other games do that, for example, stepping up in those situations. Because really, I want to see more fight in us. I would like, because we have the powder to do that. I want to see us put pressure, pressing the opponents. I want to see us play the real Farke ball, because sometimes we are too conservative. That's just that. That's the next step and the challenge. And also the real challenge is not just try to be more aggressive, more attacking minded in a certain game sensitive situation. Is also try to make the substitutes feel not just like substitutes, because when they came on, they play like substitutes. They play like they're not wanting to leave a mark when they came on. They're too complacent. Honestly, they don't make an impact. We need to feel to make the whole squad part of the game, because sometimes if you look at the substitutions, they don't make an impact. They don't come on with the right attitude. If I were them, honestly, I'll come on and try to eat the grass. Honestly, I'll be eager to play. I'll be eager to leave a mark. Honestly, it's like we have 11 players, the usual players. They usually play, apart from when we have injuries and fitness issues, when he changes one player for another, for example, Firpo for Byram. But Grujev, Gnonto, Bamford, of course, Gnonto was good, honestly, when he came on yesterday, but other players have consistently struggled to leave to leave a mark when they came on, honestly, from the bench. It's not like they're fighting to get a place in the starting 11, honestly, with that attitude. So let's also try to make the substitute more part of the game, honestly, mentally, with the focus, because it's like we have 11 players, and the substitute, of course, is also up to the game time they have, honestly, because they usually play in 20 minutes. But we need to get the substitute more involved. They need to fight for a place. And so far, it doesn't look like they're up for the challenge, honestly, because when they came on, they don't leave a mark. They rarely leave a mark, and that's not how you get into the starting 11. It looks like it's just like that, yeah.
And I do think that is on Farker in terms of his substitutions. I think we've all said that before. Let me just say as well, folks, we disagree on this panel quite a lot, but we're always like, there's no falling out on that.
We hate each other.
Yeah, me and Joe disagree a hell of a lot of times, to be fair. But it is what it is. You just see things differently, innit? But it's all love, so please remember that. Right.
Very
how
David
do we?
Brent.
How do we rectify this then? I'm aware we've gone over an hour. I didn't envisage it to spill out as it is, but it is what it is. We've go on then, Max. How do we rectify it? Do we make changes on Wednesday?
Put Strouk back in. I genuinely think half of this conversation doesn't even need to be had if Strouk's playing, because he dictates the tempo so much. And we talked about how he's had his comeback and how everything goes through him. The trust's been put in him. He's been given the captaincy on the field. I think he's the person who we miss most when he's not in the side, because he dictates the tempo. Like Joe says, he looks up, and if there's a gap, he goes through it. He runs through it, and you find him actually taking up a position almost in a high left back role sometimes, because he likes to dictate the tempo and bring the ball up and bring the players up the pitch. And I think he massively helps out. And that's nothing on Cooper. Like Joe says, it's a very good way to say it, actually, Joe, that what we expect from Cooper can only be what he's shown us before. We can't expect any more than that. That's on us if we're expecting more than that. So it's not necessarily his fault, but he just doesn't have the skill set to do it. And Strouk does. And so I think if he comes back in, then he really starts to dictate the tempo and help us a little bit. I think he saw the drop off earlier in the game against Plymouth as well. And I think that comes down to the same thing. That was the game. When Strouk had his injury and stuff, wasn't it? And then Cooper came in. I think a fit Strouk really helps us.
What if he's not though, Max? Do we need another centre back? Do we need to recruit in that area? As a matter of urgency, because he's such a massive role.
I think a left-sided centre back though, Luke, because I think Cresswell will probably come in and do a good job at right-sided centre back, but on his weaker left foot, I just think he might struggle playing at left centre back, especially if he's expected to dictate the play. So maybe having another left centre back come in, and I think Cooper, he's been a really good servant to the club. But we're not getting back into this again. But I do think we need to recruit. I do think we need to recruit for backup for Strouk.
Just what you said there, Max. Sorry, really, really quickly. What you said just pretty much highlights what I said. Strouk pushes everybody in front of him forward when he drives forward with the ball and brings it out, and he sees that gap, and that almost makes Ampadu and Kamara move forward, which pushes Pirro closer to Rutter. The wingers getting behind, and I mean that's where we play our best football in there. I think, when
beautiful.
The problem is that Kamara is still staying too much near to Ampadu. He needs to move more forward, because we need one playmaker and one moving more forward. And yesterday, for example, they were too close and Kamara was not following the play moving forward. He needed to do that, honestly, for me, in my opinion.
I thought it was good.
I think I will give Rotherham credit for yesterday. I think Rotherham made the gap between the lines very narrow, and which made it very difficult to play. It made him very congested at times. They had a lovely mid block at one point in the first half. From a coaching perspective, looking at it, it was very good defensive shape when at the mid block. It makes it very hard to play, which is why Leeds went around the outsides. And that is one credit to them. But I agree with what Max is saying. And what I would look for, if you haven't seen it, what I would look for is this. If you look at the first half of the game, and again, it's not an indictment of Cooper, but if you look at the first half when the ball goes to Cooper, or even the second half, when he comes out with the ball, look at the movement that happens in front of him. There's not a huge amount of it, so which means he has to be the one that changes the direction of the game. So he has to come out with that ball further, but he does it slowly. And then if you look at the second half, or look when Pascal Strouk does it, what he'll do is, if the options aren't on, the movement's not there, he'll nearly run beyond the fullback with the ball, which causes a player of the opposition to step out of their defensive position and go and close him down, which leaves a gap then for him to pass the ball in to get around the back of them, and then we're out. And then you're in, and that's what he does very well. Liam does it a bit slower, where teams are I think Rotherham were very clever. Let him have it. Just drop. Let him have the ball, because he doesn't have that penetrating pace that Strouk can have to get between players and open it up a little bit. So it's a little bit of just, kind of stuck with what we have a little bit. And again, I don't blame Liam Cooper for that. Same way I don't blame Dan James when he doesn't score goals. That's on me. If I expect him to score loads of goals, that's on me. So we just have to deal with what we have to. I think to Kate's point of what do we do if Stroke's not playing, I think we need to have more movement off the ball. I think the players have got to be more clued in to give Cooper more of a hand and identify that that's not his strongest suits.
Yeah. Kate, would you?
You know, he's very good at diagonal balls across the park. So
sorry, Joe, your thing went again.
Sorry,
but I agree. Yeah, it's all right. Kate, would you start Jed over Jed Spence over Archie perhaps?
I would love to see Jed Spence come in. It concerned me a little bit why he wasn't on the subs bench on yesterday.
I think he said he hadn't trained enough.
Really?
I think he said
5 days. He's only trained for 5 days. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. If he's fit, I want to see him. Everyone's chomping at the bit to see him, and we want to see him play. We want to see what he can do. We know we saw him for like 10 minutes, didn't we? Last time out, we saw what he can do. But yeah, I would definitely give Archie a rest. I guess. If he becomes a more permanent fixture, it's going to be interesting to see where Archie's going to, how he's going to rotate Archie.
I was just going to say that, Kate, is like it then gives us an option in midfield, doesn't it? When Kamara or Ampadu isn't, there's a sub there, what I mean? And Archie can impact the game.
And Archie's been great in there as well.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Good option.
Luke, would you look to start Nonto over James? I know that's where my head's at. I don't know about you.
Probably not actually against Swansea, funnily enough. Because I think Swansea will play slightly different to probably how Rotherham and Sheff Wednesday, and I think he'll have a bit of success. Obviously, one of his previous clubs as well, so it's always nice to have somebody playing against their old clubs. I feel because it's just an additional worry when anybody who's ever played for Leeds plays against us. You expect him to score, don't you? So I don't think I'd bring Nonto back in immediately. I suppose it depends how they're feeling fitness wise and how they've trained this week. But no, initially I'd probably leave the starting lineup apart from unless Strike and Byram and obviously the people who weren't fit were fit. I wouldn't tinker with it too much if everyone's fit. If Jed Spence is fit, probably look at maybe giving Archie a bit of a break, but I don't think he will.
And Andre, we've got 2 home games on the spin now. Do we fancy us to beat Swansea and Borough?
Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I have doubts about the weekend. Honestly, because I want in the midweek fixture because I want to see the level of the fitness of our players. Because Swansea are an ups and downs team, but we need to get the 3 points. So honestly, I think fitness will play a huge part in that game. Honestly, because the internationals have played 2 draining games in the international break. They came back and played on Friday, and now they play again on Wednesday. So fitness will play a huge part, and also a possible rotation or turnover will be crucial. But I think we're better than Swansea, and I fancy our chances, but fitness-wise, I think that can play a part, and I don't know. I have a feeling also we might get a draw, another 3 points because of the fitness. And if he's stubborn and doesn't retain the squad, I think he needs to rotate. For example, I'd play Spence honestly because Archie's absolutely knackered in terms of fitness and fatigue. He's really fatigued, and honestly, I like to see Nyonto, for example, coming into the team, but I'll keep James into the team. Rotor looked very, very behind in terms of his recovery. He played for 70 minutes yesterday, and already in the first half he was struggling in terms of fatigue and fitness because of his recent injury. So if he's not fit to start, I'd rather have Pirro up front, Nyonto in the 10, and play James and Somerville on the wings. Against Borough is a tough match, honestly. So that's tougher than Swansea. If it's a prediction, I think we might win against Swansea and get a draw against Borough, honestly, in the end. Thinking about that, because Borough, I think they are a good team and they have a good system under Carrick. Swansea are more ups and downs,
Yeah.
We've seen that today, with Al.
Yeah, exactly. 2-0 up and then drew 2-2. It's going to be interesting. I think. I think you make some great points. It's going to be interesting, the turnaround. Like Jamie said in the chat, do we see Gruyev? Do we see Nonto? Jadon Anthony as well from the start potentially. But the last time he did that,
I think
The
wing
last-
options might be one change. Not, I think you're going to say change both wingers and brought Gruben and it didn't work against Stoke. I would agree. If that's what you were going to say, I would agree.
Yeah,
I think that's why he probably won't do it. I think he makes one. I think you could see Nanto come in. I thought Nanto was very good when he came on. He looked very dangerous. And I think maybe you see Byron come back in at left back. Funnily enough, I quite fancy us against Borough because they'll play against us.
Yeah, I think we'll win the next two, to be honest. I think we'll win the next two.
I think anyone that's going to come at us and leave space, I think we're okay against. I fancy us against those teams. It's the teams that don't come out and play without worrying me.
Yeah, no, I think that's
just quickly. I don't know if anyone's seen the form table, but over 8 games, we're still the form team in the league.
Yeah. Only one loss, mate. Only one loss in it. You know what I mean? I think Ipswich have won 1 in 4.
Yeah, we're good at home too. So
just keep our standard
to get the 3 points against Swansea.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be fine. It's been an absolute roller coaster this episode. We've had ups and downs. We've had Wi-Fi issues. We've had all sorts going on. It's all right, but thanks everyone for tuning in. As per, if we all agreed, the world would be a rubbish place. So yeah, very boring. Exactly. Please make sure you check out each one of these lovely content creators. They'll no doubt reacted to yesterday's game, and we'll have previews ahead. Michael says, Joe, quickly, Meslier. Yeah, Meslier. It is what it is.
Did a very good one-on-one save straight after it. No one's talking about that.
Yeah, well, they never do they? But it is what it is.
Had a good season.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I think. Yeah. Thank you. I feel like I'm his only defender.
No, I'm a defender as well. Yeah.
How do you get that little thing?
It's iPhone, mate. It's
an iPhone, mate.
Yeah, I mean,
how have you done that?
Should have finished on that.
Promotion party already on the
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The facts are we're still getting the top 2, aren't we? So it's all good.
We've closed the gap.
We've closed the gap. It's now 7 points. And yeah, we're going to be totally fine. I still stand by my bold prediction that by January the 1st, Leeds United will be in the top 2. And we'll all be laughing.
Yeah, they've got a tough month of
really
Ipswich.
tough.
They play Norwich, they play us, they play Leicester.
Yeah, we're going to be
Still to play for.
I think the table settles down after December.
Yeah,
and also remember that's the January transfer window, and you can intervene in the squad if needed. Absolutely,
100%.
Sorry,
the season can change.
Joe. And you can keep this question because it's based on what Andrea is saying there. You can keep this question for another show if you want to at another date. But should December go really well, the question marks around going into January, well, then do we still need to strengthen? Where if December doesn't go particularly well, the conversation will be, yeah, we do need to strengthen. I'd like to know what people think about that, but that's maybe a conversation for a different one.
We do need to strengthen.
Definitely.
Because we've got we've got another 6 months, haven't we? Do you know what I mean?
Obviously, depending on how the month goes. I'm actually saying, if it goes really well, people will say we don't need to strengthen. And if it goes badly, people will say we need. Like, what's the reality?
Yeah, we still need to. We still need to. To be interesting to see if the club do, because under the previous regime they didn't. Yeah, I thought so. Right. We'll leave it there. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you in a bit. Peace out, folks.